Are you a GEPF member contemplating whether to retire or resign, but held back by the dreaded loom of paying high financial advisor commissions or the amount of money that GEPF could stand to benefit if you are aiming at retiring? Now, trust me, you're not alone in this. It's a battle fought in the minds of countless GEPF members. Now, let me reveal to you the uncomfortable truth. The cost will always be there, whether you decide to retire or resign from GEPF. And as you know, once you've made your choice, there's no going back. You're locked into the cost, forced to accept whatever's been given to you. Now, here's the critical question. How do you ensure that you're not paying more than you should? See, the real game changer isn't about the cost. It's about the value that you're getting in return. Now, Warren Buffett, one of the greatest investors of all time, had a powerful insight. Price is what you pay, and value is what you get. Now, let me illustrate it in this way. If you had to give me a 200 Rand note, and I give you a 200 Rand note back, we're no better off, you agree? But what if you hand to me 150 Rand, and I hand to you 200 Rand? Or what if you hand to me 100 Rand, and in return, I'm handing to you 200 Rand? Or even better, what if you hand to me 50 Rands, and in return, I'm handing back to you a whopping 200 Rand? Now that's the power of value over cost. Now in today's video, I'm going to talk to you about this crucial issue because it's not just about saving a bit on fees. It's about ensuring that every Rand you invest is working hard for you, opening opportunities and securing a stronger future for you and your loved ones. The decision to retire or resign is irreversible. That's the hard truth. But how do you ensure that you are getting good value even before you commit? Now that's the million Rand question, isn't it? So stick around as I dissect this and compare the differences between the two of retiring and resigning. Now, I want to start this off, pre-frame this by saying to you that the decision on whether to retire or resign has to be made in advance. So meaning that if you are aiming at leaving a few months down the line or a few years down the line, you sort of want to get around this concept initially. You want to know which option you are looking at taking, could be retiring or could be resigning. And when it comes to engaging with a financial planner or a financial specialist, you want to have that relationship built in the beginning. The reason why I'm saying that should be your starting point is you need a neutral position. You need someone who is going to be able to look at your information objectively and then be able to tell you which route is going to be better, whether you should be looking at retiring or resigning. Very often I see members making a mistake because they know some information about retiring, what's been told to them. They know little information about resigning. Most often it's about negative situations of members who have lost money in the past, and they feel this is a route that might not work for them. You actually want to get yourself empowered by learning the information upfront. And here's the key thing I want you to remember. That does not mean you having to pay high financial advisor fees or commissions. You can get in with a financial advisor or connect with a specialist, making certain that they know and understand GEPF, of course. And when you engage with them from that perspective, you want a neutral stance, right? You want them to be able to look at your information, assess it, and then guide you on which option is better, whether you should be retiring or resigning. So that should be your starting point. And then thereafter, I'll talk you now into some of the details when it comes to comparing the costs, right? Now, again, as I've spoken to you in previous videos, critically important for you that you start to become aware of exactly what is it that you want. See, you want to be clear on what it is that you want. And I'll list some elements here that you could be looking for. Maybe it's important for you that you earn an income for life. So this could be something that's important for you. So you want to make a note for this because you want to make sure that whatever you're getting yourself into is able to provide the things that's important for you. Maybe you want to pay the least amount in tax. Maybe you want to ensure that you have a legacy. Maybe you want to ensure that you never run out. So whatever is important to you, I want you to make sure that you can list those items. You can list it. Now notice, when we are comparing retiring and resigning, let's just assume that one option can do two of these. So you're able to get this and this, you cannot get these two. Then it's not a viable option, you agree? However, if you can see that there's an option that does all of these, then it's a viable option. And let me tell you, cost goes out the window this way. See, if you can get everything the way that you want it, then price is not an issue. If you are able to earn an income for life, if you are able to pay the least in tax, if you're able to create a legacy, if you're able to never run out of money, or all the elements that you might have listed on there. For example, medical aid. So if you are able to get all of these elements, then price becomes insignificant because the value that you are getting back becomes so much greater. Nevertheless, this video is about helping you to understand the cost. So I'm going to go through it with you so that you can start to see. What is alarming, most members might not be aware of it, is there is going to be an initial cost that's going to happen if you are aiming at retiring. So we'll start to have a look at that, what the initial cost is going to be. And in order to do this, I want you to have a look at your GEPS statement. I'll pull one up on the screen so that you can see how I'm going about it. This is my test statement. Now, notice I'm looking at this section here where it speaks about your retirement benefits, right? So exactly what you would get if you are aiming at retiring. And we can see the lump sum gratuity here sits at 1,257,000. So we want to make a note of that, 1,257,000. I'll write that in here so that we're able to see 1,257,000. Now I'm going to use round figures in this calculation, but naturally you can use the exact figures when we're working on yours. Or if you're booking a private consult for me, then I'll do the exact information or use your exact information to calculate this. Then we want to scroll down to see what the resignation value is. Notice in this case, the resignation value is sitting at 5.1 million. So I'm going to round that figure up, 5,120,000. I'm just rounding it up to make the math look a bit easy for us. The next step is, you know that if you are aiming at resigning, I've shared this in previous videos, you're able to get 1/3 as a payout, right? You're able to get 1/3 as a payout. So next step is we want to take the resignation value, 5,120,000, and we're dividing this by 3 because that gives us what the 1/3 value is. And you can see here, it's 1,706,000. So when we divide this by 3, the figure that you get is 1,706,000. That's the total. And now you'd notice that there's a gap between the two. So on resignation, you're able to get this total, 1,706,000, whereas on retiring, you are now getting a reduced value. So these are your figures here if you are aiming at resigning. Now, obviously, you want to make sure that the resignation planning is done correctly, but I'll talk to you about that just now in terms of value that you are getting back, right? Let's first go work out the difference between the two. So I'm going to take, in this case, 1,706,000, which is what I've just calculated, minus 1,257,000. So that figure, 449,000, is what I'm saying to you is a cost, right? Is a cost. And I'll call this the cost of retirement. So notice what's happening. GEPF is not paying the full amount, as I've said in previous videos. You're not going to receive the full amount if you are aiming at retiring because everything is based according to a formula. GEPF is a defined benefit fund. So you want to be mindful of this because then you know this is exactly what is the cost on day one. So meaning if you are this member and this is your value, you're receiving 1,257,000. You should have been receiving 1.7 million. There's a difference, and that difference is 449,000. So that's the cost. Now you want to look at the value. So in return for this, GEPF is then providing you with the income. And you know that the income is paid over a 5-year, well, it's paid for life, but it's guaranteed for a 5-year period. Meaning if you and your spouse, or if you have no spouse, but if you and your spouse pass away within a 5-year period, the income ceases. So the next step is to start to analyze, is that really worth it for you? How much could GEPF stand to gain if you happen to live just for a short period? Because then the legacy is not continuing. Counter to that, you now want to have a look at the resignation. So let's go start to have a look at how the structure of resignation could take place, right? Now, in this example, I'm assuming that you are taking the money out, you're not cashing, you are transferring to an approved fund. So just so that I know we're on the same page, here's your funds that's sitting here with GEPF. And I'm going to put in the same value, 5,120,000, the same resignation value that we had seen. And you want to transfer this money now through to an approved fund. Remember, you want to first analyze the different approved funds so you know which one is most appropriate to you. And this is part of the value that needs to be given to you, right? Now, there's a lot more details behind this, but I want to give you enough information now so that you can start to overcome any challenges that you might have in terms of pricing, especially in terms of financial advisor fees or commissions. And I want to empower you with information. So even when you're sitting in front of a financial advisor, I want you to start to see how you can ask for more information so that you're getting more value back from it. Now, notice you're transferring money from here into the approved fund. And if you followed my videos, everything running well, all the planning done good, there's no tax here. There's no tax on that transfer when you move into the approved fund. However, the insurance company, are they going to do this for free or are they going to charge you a fee? There's definitely going to be a fee. And the fee here is calculated as a percentage, 3.45%. 3.45%. So let's go look at this on a calculator so that we get to understand this. Now, 5,120,000, that's the figure that's actually getting moved over times 3.45%. So this total is 176,640, meaning that's your cost if you are transferring the money over, right? If you're transferring the money over from GEPF into the insurance company, notice what's happening. There's no tax here, but because you're using an approved fund, you now have this fee to contend with. So the first thing you want to start to compare, and notice you can see it here, the cost of retirement at 449,000, cost of resignation here is 176,000. Naturally, you can't stay in the approved fund, so you have to split this, take your 1/3, 2/3, all of that. So there's a bit more detail behind this, but the video is designed to give you some information so that you have some understanding. Now, if you are going to be paying this type of fee, the question is, what's the sort of value that must come to you? So I'm going to give you some insights now on elements that you can start to ask for. One is you can start to ask for proper tax planning. See, you can start to ask for proper tax planning, meaning it's common knowledge now. You have access to this channel. Information on the videos are all free. So you already know that transferring to an approved fund, there's no tax here. There's no real value behind it. But you want to see from your financial advisor what else could be done in terms of tax planning so that it creates more saving for you. And I'm going to use an example. Let's assume that more tax planning could be done, and the tax planning brings in a saving for you of 250,000. So notice what's happening. You're paying 176,000 for that service, and in return, you're getting back 250,000 tax planning, tax saving, right? Meaning the financial advisor is able to put you in a position to show you how to create the tax saving. The next thing that's here, what if, let's say I'm the financial advisor from an investment perspective, if I show you a way on how you can grow capital. So before you invest, if I'm showing you how you can grow capital, now I'm protecting your money, isn't it? So this is a second value add. What if I can show you a way in which I can help you to create your legacy? So sustain the legacy so that you and your family become protected. So what's happening all the way is I'm starting to deliver more and more value to you, more and more value. Remember the exercise that I said earlier? You want to pay a certain amount. So if you are giving me 50 rands, I need to give you 4 times, 5 times, 10 times the value. And the way in which I've done this for members in the past is by analyzing it in this way, right? Analyzing it, how can we use the financial planning tools? How can I use my experience, what I know, in order to create the maximum leverage for you? Because the tax would be paid in any event. Now I need to make sure that I can show you ways in which you can avoid it. Now, if that's the case, and let's say I'm able to bring in a value here of another 200,000, let's say, of capital growth. So now it's shifting the position because you're in a position where you are getting 250,000 saving here, plus another 200,000. That's 450,000 value that got delivered to you. And in return, you're paying 176 for it. So when you're engaging with your financial advisor, wouldn't something like this be meaningful? Now, one mistake that I see that's happening amongst members, and yet you've got to be really guarded for if financial advisors do this. A lot of planning is required when you want to get the resignation planning done properly, thoroughly, and extensively done, right? So you might not be leaving right away. Let's say this is the period now. And let's assume you are leaving in the next 6 months. Notice a lot of planning has to be done upfront, right? The tax planning must be done in advance. The investment planning must be done in advance. If you're needing assistance with medical aid, that must be done in advance. Legacy planning must be done in advance. Reviewing of existing policies should be done in advance. So you've got a lot of planning that must be done upfront, right? If you are doing all of that financial planning and the financial advisor is saying to you, hey, listen, I'm going to do all that for you, and there's not going to be a fee, or the fee is going to be reduced. Now, this should start to sound some alarm bells for you. The reason is, imagine you working in your profession and you're working for 6 months and not getting paid. How would you sustain yourself? So if a financial advisor is engaging with you and not having a professional fee or reducing the fee, now you have to start to question what work is actually being done. And this is important for you because you're the one who's choosing the financial advisor. I've seen this in many cases for members where they're opting to have a lower fee. Financial advisors are reducing the fees for them, but the service is not being provided. And let's face it, financial services is not tangible. So you can't get to see it. You can't touch it. You only get to know this at a later stage. But by then you might have already paid the tax. So what I'm sharing with you here is going back to the beginning. When it comes to deciding whether to retire or resign, your starting point is getting with a financial advisor who can sit neutral and give you options on both so that you can compare it, look at not just the cost, look at the tax consequences, look at what's happening from how do you get an income for life, how do you build a legacy, look at all the different elements so that you put yourself in a position to make an informed decision. Thereafter, if resignation works well for you, then you want to start to have a look at, yes, you're paying a fee to the financial advisor. What are you getting in return? And notice that information must be provided to you in advance. So that's the way that you know you're getting good value for it. Now, I hope the video has been insightful for you. I've done a lot more calculations for you, and I've given you a lot more exposure to the behind the scenes of insurance companies and how financial advisors earn fees. So post a comment below to share with me your takeaways, what's been enlightening for you. Naturally, you want to have this done in a private consultation because you want to have a look at the cost itself, how the costs apply to you. I've just done this at a surface level, so there's a lot more deeper information to know. But post your comments below so that I can see if this video has been helpful to you. If you've not already done so, please subscribe to the channel and give me a thumbs up so I know that the information that I'm being provided to you or that's being provided is going to be helpful. I'll see you in the next video.